welcome back. How are you today? So, in this video, we wanted to talk about choices. It seems to be the topic for this week, our choices. Now, what was coming up as I was away on holidays? I actually started this topic in the previous video and then it sidetracked onto something completely different, but still relevant, that we always have a choice, always. We are the ones that decide that we don't. But in this beautiful video, what I wanted to share was, as I was away on holidays last week, and I'm at the beach and I'm in the water, and these beautiful waves are lapping up on my skin, I had this moment where I was remembering when I first came back to Australia, because my parents decided to go back to South America when I was 15 years old. And I never felt at home there. I can't explain it, but to me it didn't feel like home because I had grown up here in Australia. And to me this was home. This is where I wanted to be. I don't know why. You know, why does one country feel like home and another doesn't? To my parents, South America was home. And they were miserable here. My mum had, severe back pain. She could hardly walk. And my dad had already had a severe heart attack by that stage, by the time I was 15. I was 12 when my dad had his first heart attack. So they were miserable here. All they wanted to do was go back home, to their home, to South America. But I was born here and I'd left all my friends behind when I was 15. And I was devastated. We wrote to each other for years. And then, of course, everyone went their own way, especially after I had my first boyfriend, and then all the attention, all my focus went on that. And we stopped writing eventually. But what was coming up for me as I'm in the ocean, and in every moment I'm thinking, I'm one with Spirit. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm listening. And in that moment, Spirit reminded me of when I came to Australia. My very first job back. And I was a receptionist for about 6 years in this company in the city. Now, in this beautiful company, there was this gorgeous girl. We're about the same age actually, but she'd been there already a couple of years before I got there. She'd already been there. And I'm trying to think, I was 23 at the time, turning 24 when I came back to Australia to stay for good. And this gorgeous girl, she's now my friend that lives in New Zealand. I would come to her and ask her questions all day long when I started, And every time I would come and ask her questions, whatever it was that I wasn't sure how to do or I didn't know because I hadn't been shown yet, it was the first time, she would drop everything she was doing. And she would sit with me and she would explain it. And I would make notes so that next time I would remember. But some things would take more than notes. I had to do them over and over and over again before I understood how to do them. And this is the beauty of practice. That's what I keep talking about, making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And I would have to keep coming back to her. She wasn't my senior. She had a different position in this company, but she was the only other female. So for some reason, I gravitated towards her to ask her the questions of what I didn't know, of what I wasn't sure of. And what blew me away, and the reason I fell in love with this beautiful girl, was that every time I would come to ask her, she would drop whatever she was doing. It didn't matter how busy she looked, she would drop it. And she would sit with me and she would explain it to me like it was the first time I was asking her this question. And sometimes it felt like it was the 50th time I was asking her this question, and I was embarrassed to go and ask her because I was thinking she's going to think I'm thick, like that I'm that I can't learn, that I'm just, stupid, I guess was the word. And I knew in my heart that I'm not, but these were skills that I didn't have, like picking up phones and answering phones. I'd never done that before. In my home, we weren't allowed to pick up the phone. You know, my mum or my dad had to pick it up. My sister and I weren't allowed to pick up the phone, to answer the phone at home. So all of these things were new to me. Answering phones and all the things that I was learning to do in this company were things I had never done before. And it took a while. I'm talking at least a year, you know, before I was in a groove and I got it and I was able to move forward without having to ask her every 5 minutes, how do I do this? What do I do? You know? But what blew me away was her infinite patience and her kindness. Never once did she roll her eyes at me like, oh, you know, again. Never once did she look frustrated to have to explain it again. She would drop everything, like I said, she would drop everything and explain it like it was the first time she was explaining it to me. To me, that felt like unconditional love, like a love that I had never experienced in my life up until that point, ever. You know, for me, making mistakes meant that I was going to get yelled at. Making mistakes meant that I was going to get smacked. This is what I had grown up with. And this beautiful being that I'd never met before, and to me was an angel on earth, showed me what infinite patience looked like, what unconditional love looked like. Things that I had never experienced before. And I admired her so much. I thought she was the most beautiful being I'd ever met. And she is beautiful, you know. All of her is beautiful. You know, I was wondering what she was doing there and why she wasn't modeling. But it was just me, because I just found her so beautiful on the inside that to me everything was beautiful. So what came out of that when I was in the ocean and I had that memory and I remembered how much I loved her, how much I still love her, my heart was filled with gratitude. And I was shown in that moment, because I swore in that moment that this beautiful patience that she has shown me and that I admired so much would be something that I would strive to pass on to others. And I've had 30 years of doing that with my beautiful piano students. I've managed to do that there. I've managed to do that with my daughter. Although sometimes I find with her, I don't quite have the patience that I need to have. And I think that sometimes it's my mother coming out of me. You know, that frustration of, you know, it's still in there. It's different with her. But I strive every day to have the patience that she needs me to have for her, with her. So today, what was coming through to share with you, and I remember way, way back, my daughter was 3 years old, and we had gone to South Australia to visit my husband's dad for Christmas. And my husband came back so angry with his dad for so many things that he had done. And he felt that it just wasn't right, it wasn't fair, all these things, you know, of how he was treating our daughter, all of these things. And I remember in the car on the drive back, my husband was so angry. And I said to him, you know what? I said to him, he is showing you what you can be. You can choose to be like that. You can choose to follow that example and be just like him. I said to my husband, in every moment we choose who we are. And sometimes these beautiful beings come into our lives to show us who it is that we don't want to be. This is the magic of these beings. They show us what we don't want to be. They're showing us that in every moment we get to choose who it is we want to be. Do we want to be infinite patience? Is this who we choose to be? Do we want to be unconditional love? Is this who we choose to be today? And everything we choose to be gives us that experience. So when we choose to be unkind, when we choose to be impatient, when we choose to be annoyed, irritated, frustrated, it creates our experience. And it's not right and it's not wrong. It is the experience we came to have. And it's the experience each of us has come to have. It's when we judge it and we decide that it's wrong, that it becomes wrong. But we don't know what that soul came to experience. This is what we must remember in every moment. When we say things out of judgment, know in your heart that that soul needed to receive that information. For whatever reason, whatever it is that you've said, don't beat yourself up over it, ever. It was meant to be said. That soul needed to hear that information. That you can reflect on it later and know for yourself, oh, I said that out of judgment. Then it's a good time for you to reflect on yourself. Why did I need to judge that? What is it in me that doesn't accept that? What am I not accepting? And the truth is that when we can't accept something in someone else, it is something that we cannot accept in ourselves. This is where judgment comes from. What we judge in others are things that we don't accept in ourselves, that we can't accept in ourselves, that we can't love about ourselves. Therefore, we judge it in others. If it's not in your system, you don't notice it. It doesn't bother you. You have no need to judge it if it's not in your system. And many of us seem to think that it's from this lifetime. Oh, I haven't experienced it in this lifetime. I'm judging that, but I haven't experienced it in this lifetime. For example, if you find yourself constantly judging pedophiles and you see them in the news and, oh, you have all this judgment against pedophiles, but you haven't experienced sexual abuse in your life, chances are that that judgment is not from this lifetime. I know from many past life regressions that I've had, past lifetimes, that I've seen all the stuff that is still stored in my energetic field that hasn't been forgiven, that hasn't been released. So when you are judging something, it may not even be from this lifetime. It may be from many, many, many lifetimes before this one. And they are things that you still judge because you haven't accepted that you needed to have that experience, to gain the wisdom, to gain the knowledge that you needed for your soul, for spirit. You haven't forgiven yourself for those lifetimes, for the lifetimes that you've hurt others, for the lifetimes you've abused others. So this beautiful video was about choices, the choices that we make. Remember always that this life, this lifetime is yours and yours only. You only have control over your own life. As much as we love our parents, as much as we love our partners, our children, our friends, what we call our loved ones, each one has their own path. Each one has their own journey of what they came to experience on a soul level. So when you find that you are judging others, always look to yourself. It's always about you. It is never about the other person. Always look at yourself. Why am I judging that? What is it in me that I don't accept? What is it in me that I don't forgive? What is it in me that I can't love about myself? When I had my first awakening after my daughter was born, and I had written the first book, Your Past is a Gift, but I hadn't published it yet. I had just finished the manuscript that I was handing out that Christmas. I started to see life outside of me. When people would talk to me, and in the past I would take it personal. They'd be saying these things to me, and I would think they were talking to me about me. And all of a sudden, I started to see that when people were talking to me about things, trying to make it about me, it was really about them. They were telling me about them. When someone tells you you're lazy, they're telling you this is what they think about themselves. When someone tells you you're not good enough, this is how they feel about themselves. And the only way you can see that is when you start to see that this is what you have been doing the whole time. The whole time. Every time you judge someone else, this judgment is about you. How you feel about yourself, what you think about yourself. All the words that we use to express ourselves. Look at these words carefully. What words are you using? They're telling you what you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself. I remember being in the office a long time ago, and someone came out and said, "Who stole my stapler?" Who stole? I remember that sticking in my mind. Thinking, who talks like that? Who took, who borrowed, but who stole? It's such a strong word. It shows intention. Who stole? It would never be a word that I would choose. But in that moment, the who stole my stapler stuck in my head. Why that word, stole? Why not took? Why not borrowed? Who took? Who took it? Where is it? It was an office. Everyone was borrowing everyone else's stuff all the time. Staplers, rubbers, whatever we needed. We were constantly borrowing from each other. But for me, it was the word borrow, not stole. So today, know that whoever you are choosing to be today is serving your beautiful experience. If you are impatient, irritable, annoyed, this is your experience. You are here to know what that feels like. It is not right or wrong. It is just your experience for your soul. And when we judge it, all we do is make ourselves feel bad, that we're not supposed to feel these things. But your soul came here to experience all of it. When you remember that, you'll know that it's all perfect. It's all perfect. What you are experiencing is not an accident. It's not coincidence. You are meant to be experiencing that. And to be honest, I was angry for such a large portion of my adult life. So angry. And what I've learnt through this new book that I'm writing is that when you are done feeling a certain way, you will move away from it. You will choose something different. You will know within yourself, I am done. The soul is done. It gathered all the information it needed. It no longer needs that experience. You can move forward to a different experience. Not a better one, not a worse one, but a different experience. Because they are all divine. Every experience, every moment is sacred, no matter what you're experiencing. You are divine. I love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And whoever you choose to be in this moment, know that it is perfect. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.